like at the sport. That was going to be a meteorologist.
She cooks us a chocolate cake.
Everybody watching us here on the interwebs, welcome to TrackTown Live for day 2 of our coverage here at historic Hayward Field. Jordan Kent joined by Paul Swangard. And Paul, yesterday we had a chance to check out the athletes practice, prepare for this meet that starts tomorrow with the men's decathlon kicking off at 11:30. Day 2, more athletes working out. We had a chance to talk to several coaches. Your impressions from everybody in just the scene yesterday?
Well, I mean, just everybody getting excited now because the job is at hand. We're going to start this thing tomorrow, and teams have been rolling in over the last 48 hours, getting a chance, as you probably see behind us, working out and getting the kinks out and just getting a flavor for what is always the most exciting part of being a college track and field athlete, which is the national championships here at historic Hayward Field for the second year of the row, part of this 9-year contract now where the championships will be here each and every year on through the remainder of the decade.
And yesterday we discussed the strong push to hopefully make Eugene, Oregon, and Hayward Field the permanent home of the track and field championships, much like they do with the World Series of softball and baseball, and just trying to boost the sport in that sense. And Paul, yesterday a lot of the coaches were very relaxed when they came up here, but one day removed from the meet, do you expect them to be a little bit more focused in?
I think so. You know, there's a couple of things this afternoon. They've got a news conference where they're going to meet the media for probably the first time, and then there's a reception that gives them a chance to collegially work the friendships with all the coaches from around the country, and then I think you get dialed in from the get-go tomorrow morning. It's all the focus on the job at hand, which is those individual championships, obviously, and the thing we'll talk about with our next guest is this team race, which ultimately is the top prize for these teams when they started the year to win a national championship in the sport of track and field. And we've got 2 great races, and really the script of the century, if it all holds to form, that we'll probably have the championships awarded in the final races, the 4x400 meter relays on Saturday afternoon.
Well, you mentioned our guests, and of course we have people on the show. You're not going to want to just sit back and listen to Paul and I babble back and forth, and we've got plenty of athletes from across the country along with their coaches that'll be joining us. But first, we want to start off with 2 gentlemen, Alex Lohr from Flow Track and Adam Schneider from Runner Space. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Great to be here. Thanks for having us.
It's a beautiful day.
It is a beautiful day, and let's start with being in Eugene. Adam, and I got to give a shout out to him. He was behind the scenes with me as announcer at Hayward Field for more than a decade, and I know legitimately one of the great stat gurus around the sport of track and field. But you're a local guy, and Alex, you're coming from outside the area. But this idea of this being now the home. We know it's going to be here for a while, and maybe the different perspectives from each of you. One is someone who knows how special this place can be, and someone who sees all the great venues from around the country, and just your feeling about Eugene being the home from now on.
I think it's great. You know, you have Omaha being the baseball home. I think Eugene can really take on that challenge and really project and push track to the next level.
And Alex, as you've talked to the athletes throughout the season, you know, for some it's a long way to go, but the belief now is that this is the place to be. And how are you feeling about Eugene as the home?
Yeah, I think athletes start to see Eugene as this big sense of relief, right? It's the end of the season. They're just done with finals. It's like, all right, we just got to get there, just got to get there. So once they're actually on the track, it's a huge relief for them. And I actually grew up just outside of Omaha, so I'm somebody who went to the College World Series every year and like had that every summer. I was locked in, and I knew my family and my friends were going to go to the College World Series. So I think it's a great idea.
You two obviously cover the sport probably more than anybody else here. Give us some of the storylines that we're expecting as we get set for this meet this year.
Well, I think the biggest storyline is redemption, obviously, and it's that unbelievable women's team battle that we saw indoors that came down to that 4x4, Florida versus Texas. I mean, it couldn't have ended any crazier. And so I think that's going to be something we're really going to keep our eye on, is that rematch, is the Texas versus Florida, and especially because it probably will come down to that 4x4, and Texas is looking for that redemption. They lost just by a hair, but they have 4 girls who are ranked in the top, who are the top 4 individual 400 runners coming in. So I think, for me, that's the biggest story.
For years, we've heard Jim McKay talk about thrill of victory, agony of defeat. I think in this year, as usual, it's thrill of victory, and then instead it's unmet expectations. Because every year we expect 70, 80 points, and yet they drop way down. They don't actually ever meet that. I could definitely see 80 points for Florida, 80 points for Oregon, 70 points for on the women's side, but the last time they scored over 60 was 2006 on the men's side. Last time they scored over 70 was 2000. The last time they scored over 80 was 94. So it's getting to the point you need to be where you can maximize your performance and not fall back, and just keeping as many athletes going and scoring as many points as possible without necessarily anybody, knowing that they're going to win or not.
We had Robert Johnson from Oregon on yesterday. He was talking a lot about the notion of silent points. Those are the points that come when you finish 6th, 7th, or 8th. It seems, as you talked about with Texas, they've got a big event in the 400 meters where they're going to have loud and silent points that'll make a difference. We may know after that race in particular just kind of where their fortunes lie. And then you got a case in Oregon, the other favorite on the women's side, where it's really not as much about the silent points. It's the big guns, Racler, Francis, Prandini, all stepping up and doing what they're expected to do. So I think the fascination is the team that's going to win is going to have to win in a different way, don't you think?
I think you can never bank on ex-athlete perform. It's a very what have you done for me lately type situation. Projections are one thing, but what have you done for me lately, and will they perform in the clutch at that moment? I think that Oregon athletes will have good days, but there'll be 1 or 2 superstars that don't have good days. We saw it last year with English Gardner. Didn't have a good, I think, 200. She didn't even make it to the final, but she came back in that 100. So can Oregon scrap for those points? Can Annie LeBlanc have a good day? Can a freshman like Allie Cash score just scrape a point in that 1500? That's what it's going to come down to, because the intangibles say that one of your superstars is going to have a bad day.
And we talk about all the individual battles as well. I think everyone's looking forward, probably more than anything else, to that 5,000 meters that's coming up. The 10K tomorrow night's going to be a race to watch as well. But, Adam, anything in particular, maybe outside of the marquee events, that you're particularly interested in seeing how things play out?
Well, I think we heard a little bit yesterday, but the women's 400's got to be an amazing spot to go to, because you have a 2-time defending NCAA champion in Spencer. She was the top West region runner, but Phyllis Francis broke the collegiate record indoors, and Okolo's already broken the collegiate record outdoors. So it's going to be a fantastic race, potentially with 4 Texas women, potentially also with 2 Oregon women. Chizoba Okadobge could make the final.
And as we get set for this meet to kick off tomorrow, we've talked a lot about the women's side, but on the men's side too, there's a lot of stellar just individual athletes. Who else are you keeping your eye on?
Other than that middle core of the Lowry versus Edward Cheserek versus Kennedy Kathuk in that 5K, it's going to be great. But a kind of off the radar event is the men's 800, which is there's really no big-time favorite this year. And there's a couple guys that have run well. Brandon McBride is the defending indoor champion, but there's no real strong favorite, and that's why I'm really interested in that event. I'm also interested in it because the University of Florida men have so many guys in. I think they got 3 guys in, Obinwa and Andres Arroyo, a freshman and senior. That could be a big swing. Anybody could win that race, especially when they run it championship style in the 800. So I think that race is going to be more exciting than people think, and since there's no clear favorite, Florida is going to want to snag some big team points out of that one.
Now, we can't let you off the hook lightly here. We need your predictions. Give me your champion on the men's and women's side, both of you.
If everything went perfectly, men, I would go with Florida for their 3rd in a row. Women, I would go with Texas. But I think it's going to come down to Oregon and Texas A&M in both.
Ooh, okay. I'm going to go.
Are you going to get emotional on us?
I know, it's hard. It's hard. I will say that, oh, man. I will go Oregon women, Florida men.
Okay.
I think Coach Holloway, Coach Mouse is going to fire his guys back up, and Florida's going to come back, and Gino Hall, last 100 meters is gonna pull away, and the Gators come away with it.
All right. Well, Alex, Adam, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you catch the start of the 2014 NCAA Championship meet tomorrow. 11:30 kicks off with the men's decathlon. So much more coming up ahead here on TrackTown Live. Stick around.
Here in the West, we have our own unique perspective. Visionary. Innovative. Progressive. This is our blueprint for excellence. It's what makes us the Conference of Champions.
The administrators, educators, coaches, and fans of the Missouri Valley Conference expect nothing but the best from their teams. And the Valley student athletes take pride in exceeding that expectation. On the field, on the court, on the track, and in the classroom. Celebrating academic and athletic excellence for more than 100 years. This is the Missouri Valley Conference.
Welcome back to TrackTown Live as we look at Hayward Field. Day 2 of practice for most of the athletes as they get set for the start of the meet tomorrow at 11:30. Jordan Kent joined by Paul Swangard. And Paul, we just got done talking to Adam and Alex, and they mentioned the men's 5K was a big-time event that they're looking forward to. And we are fortunate enough to be joined by a man that's favorited to win that event. In fact, he won it last year. Please welcome in Lowy Lalang and his coach, Fred Harvey from the University of Arizona. How are we doing? How are you enjoying this beautiful weather here at Hayward so far?
You know, it's really nice being in Hayward Field. It's been really a nice track, a fast track, so it really feels good.
And Coach, you're familiar with Hayward and this setting for a championship meet. What do you take of the atmosphere here and the fan support that you get year in, year out?
Well, you know, you can't beat it. It's always a great honor to to be here at Hayward Field and to be able to bring my athletes here and compete. I always say that our sport needs a place and a support group that's going to be able to do the things that we want to be able to promote our great sport in this country, and it doesn't happen any better here at Hayward Field. And every time we bring our athletes up here to compete, it's they run their personal best, and we have the best of the best here here on Hayward Field competing, and so it's a great honor for us and our sport.
We got to go back to Chris Zielinski. The last time we had a guy win back-to-back 5,000-meter championships at the NCAA level. Your decision this year to go 15-5, which has never happened, versus the 5 and 10 a year ago. Just take us through the decision process that led you to focus on those two races at the championship level this year.
Okay, first of all, actually, last year it wasn't possible to do a double of 5,000 and 1,500, but due to the schedule this time, I figured out it's going to be better to do 15 and 5,000 because I need more of speed right now than the endurance. So it came down to speed.
And speed seems to be working for you. I was fortunate to be at that race in Pullman where you won the Pac-12 championship. Fastest time ever run in a conference championship meet in a wonderful battle with Edward Cheserek. We'll see that rivalry potentially continue on the track here at Hayward Field. But just take us through that race. As the announcer in stadium, when you went through that first 400 meters in whatever ridiculous time it was, I think you stunned everyone in the crowd that thing was going as fast. But that was the plan, wasn't it?
Actually, it wasn't that much of a plan to go for around 55 something. So I was surprised myself actually when I saw it something like 55. You know, I felt it looked easy, so I thought it might be something like 57. So but when it's something like 55, I'm like, okay, let me just go for it. You know, it's gonna be fast, but you know, the guy who's following me is good and I'm good, so let's just run on whoever wins it.
And Fred, you've watched a lot of great athletes over the years come out of your program, other programs around the country. Seems to be a special group here at this this middle distance area right now. And I guess just maybe as a fan of track and field, you have obviously one guy in the middle of the mix here. But do you feel like this is really kind of a great era for this kind of distance talent?
Yeah, I mean it really is. You know, when you stop and you think about the type of talents, you know, the Wheatons of the world that that ran the middle distances here, in the Pac-12. It doesn't get any better than that. When you think about a conference championship, running well under 338, in Pullman, all places as well. I mean, it's really, really special, and I tell you, it's just getting better.
And you've obviously got good competition when you run in a conference meet, but when you get to the national level, it is the best of the best. And the 1500 that we've seen is quite possibly the most competitive, and you never know what's going to happen when you go into that event. How will your strategy change this week compared to the Pac-12s, or do you go out there and do the same thing you did?
Well, and I don't want to speak for Dr. James Lee or Arla Wade, but the fact of the matter is, when I seen what he did, La Wade, in terms of his strategy or lack thereof strategy at the Pac-12 championships, to me it was a statement that was going to be made that I know that Edward is a great athlete, and that guy can run, and he's not going to be taken lightly. And to go out and put it down, say, okay, if we're gonna race, then we're gonna race, and that was, to me, the statement. I really feel at at this competition at the national championships, you're going to see races that may not be your traditional strategical races that you see, because I think the level and respect that these athletes have for one another now, it's a different era.
We see you here enjoying the final moments of your win in the 10,000 meters. And now I guess let's talk about, for this sport to succeed, as we look at other sports around the world that fans gravitate to, stars matter, but so do rivalries. And I think one of the things that everyone who's following this meet this week is looking forward is that rematch with Edward at 5,000 meters. Give us a sense as one member of that rivalry. Do you feel like it is a rivalry? Is there friendliness between the two of you? And I guess help us shape an understanding of what it's going to mean to be on the track with him in a couple of days.
Okay, first of all, actually, it's not rivalry, but we're friends. As we are friends. But when it's come to the running, there is that rivalry for sure. So it's gonna be up to that day,
And do you, since you don't have any skin in the game for the 10,000 meters, your prediction for that race tomorrow night, who wins?
I'll choose Edward.
That definitely proves it's a friendship. Malawi, Fred, thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck this week with the 15 and the 5K double that you're trying to perform. It's certainly going to be a sight to see. So make sure you do not want to miss either race. You don't want to miss any race, of course, the Nationals, but make sure you catch them out in the 15 and the 5. So much more when we come back here on TrackTown Live. We'll hear from several more coaches and athletes when we come back. Stick around.
Mere words can't express the power of competition. You just know it's there. 10 teams, 1 goal. the Big 12 Conference.
There is a place where pioneers go. A place inspired by the pursuit of knowledge and the athletic ideal. 12 universities, 111 Nobel laureates. More national titles than any other conference, by far. This is our blueprint for excellence. It's what makes us the Conference of
Yeah, he
Champions.
calls track. I do basketball and football. I mean, I ran track. Don't get me wrong. Welcome back to TrackTown Live. I just got done sharing with Paul Swangard a little bit more of my athletic background. And Paul, I know I'm a big guy. I felt this polo a little bit more than you because of the football and basketball background, but I ran track.
Well, I'm feeling it, but in different areas.
Well, I was a sprinter. That's why I'm excited about our next guest, Trayvon Bromell, and his coach, Michael Ford from the University of Baylor. Welcome to Eugene, Oregon. It's good to have you here. Your thoughts on practice the first couple days? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. Just had a good week of treatment and getting my mindset before everything. So I'm ready to compete.
Yeah, had a great week last week and got here yesterday, and so he'll actually have his first practice today out here, so it'll be interesting to see how things go.
Well, there's a little bit of a breeze in the air today, but nothing like we saw at your conference championships where you you must have turned at the end of that and knew it was fast when you felt it, but 9.77 kind of woke everybody up to you're the real deal. Just talk about that race and what kind of confidence that gives you going into the national championships.
Well, I knew it was going to be a good race, great competitors. But my whole thing was I knew if I was able to jump out the blocks and do what I had to do, transitioning through my race, I knew I'd be able to put down a fast time. So my whole thing was, clear my mind. I prayed, and then when the gun went off, I went with it, and then the time. So just, trying to set for the perfect race and doing what I have to do to execute.
Coach, we'll talk about him as if he's not here now, which is, trying not to make him feel any ego bruise. But what is it that it makes him special as an athlete? Is it in a race that there's little time to make mistakes? He doesn't make many, and I'm sure the confidence is growing in his abilities. But what stands out for you?
My big thing, especially since he's a young sprinter, but he's I always say he's a track rat, just like football rats and basketball rats. He studies his sport. I get so many text messages or calls about, hey coach, can I switch my blocks this way? How was my angle on this start? Did I pop up or anything like that? And to me, I think to be great, you have to know your sport and know what you're doing wrong and right. And I think that makes him great. And then also when he does have a bad race or a good race, he forgets about that race and then let's move on to the next race.
And as you get set to compete at this stage, it's not uncommon for freshmen to win the 100. We've seen that before, Walter Dix being the most recent one. Getting on a stage this big, you've ran at U.S. Championships and world events. What are you doing to just calm yourself and not let it seem like this is too big of a stage?
You treat every race like any other. You don't try to make it too big or too little. You just got to go out there and run your race. I don't try to focus on who's my competitors or what field I'm racing. I mean, every track is the same track. I mean, just different surfaces, different competitors. So I just clear my head and just go and race.
You talked about some of those names, Walter Dix being among them, and that won as freshmen, Justin Gatlin, Harvey Glantz, Stanley Floyd. You have a sense of the history of this sport and what it would mean for you to come out here and win a title, which is very rare, and those who have done it been pretty darn good.
Yeah, I mean, I think about it sometimes, but like I said, I don't try to put too much pressure on myself going into the race, just thinking about, if I win, how people would think of it. I just, try to focus on what I have to do. But, I mean, it'd be a big accomplishment in my books of going out and winning it as a freshman because I know I've been waiting to come to college and do great things. So we all going to see when time to race.
And, Coach, you're very familiar with working with world-class athletes. A lot of your athletes, a guy I remember, Jeremy Werner, are at that gold medal level. What is different about these athletes, and how do you have to treat them during the year as opposed to the difference between a good college athlete and an exceptional college athlete?
Well, I think the big thing is just having him understand that the season is a lot longer than high school. I think his high school season ended maybe in April. And so I know the stuff that we did in the fall that he did not like at all, like the 600s and the 500s. It's like, Coach, I need to get my spikes on, ready to go. But I was trying to prepare him for the long season, and I think for the better athletes, you have to – and also determine his races too, not running him so much and just backing his races up. And then sometimes not running him in the 100 and to make him a little hungrier for the next time he does get a chance to do it. So those are little things that we've done this year, and hopefully we'll continue to do it.
One of the goals for our broadcast is to get people excited about coming out and seeing, the stars of tomorrow on the professional level perform. Also later this summer here at historic Hayward Field, the first time the IAAF will bring actually their largest meet, the World Juniors. You tied a World Juniors record, but I know you've coached at the World Juniors before. Can you put in perspective for our viewers of that event and why someone should consider maybe spending part of their July here watching those stars?
I think it's you get to see some future Olympians at the meet at a younger age. I think it's one of probably the best meets besides Olympic Games or World Championships for me when I was able to coach. I didn't know the impact of it, and I was actually probably more nervous coaching there because everyone sees it because it's a USA on your chest, and I really enjoyed it, and we had a great meet.
And Trayvon, I think a lot of people don't necessarily know so much of your backstory, some injuries in your high school career that many maybe would not see their career come back to the level you've seen it come back. As you reflect on coming back from hip injury and some bad knees, and I think there was an elbow thrown in there for good measure, does that give you an extra set of confidence that you can overcome some of those challenges? Because you're going to face those challenges in race, out of race for the rest of your career.
How I think about it, is motivation, is fuel to the fire. I think about it as in I got to work twice as hard because, like everybody know, I broke both my knees, my hip, fractured my pelvis, all types of stuff. So it's like I just got to work twice as hard, and I have to do what I have to do to be able to come out and run with the big boys that's running fast times too. So just got to work twice as hard, and I just use it as motivation. And then when I get in my race, I think about all I've worked for and everything that came together. Now I just got to put it out on the track. So
got to put him in a bubble for the rest of the next couple of days. Do not do anything. We want to make sure you get home safely, and more than anything else, looking forward to watching you run. People who haven't watched this guy run, one of the great talents to come here in the USA. So.
And Coach, he's from St. Petersburg, Florida.
Right.
How did you get him away from Florida and Florida State? That's what I want to know, because they have sprinters there also. Pretty good track programs, as we're aware of.
Great programs in Florida and at Florida State. And actually, my mentor is probably Coach Holloway at Florida. So I saw a lot of video of him his junior year, and I made a connection with his club coach, and did a visit, and that was the rest was history.
Excellent. Well, we're glad you're both here. Best of luck this week. So much more when we come back here on TrackTown Live. We'll get a chance to catch up with more athletes and coaches, including the Florida Gators, who recently this year just became the 5th collegiate team ever to run under 3 minutes flat in the 4x4. We'll take a closer look at that when we return.
Just like an amazing feeling. We just ran 2:59, and we're not even at our peak yet. This is Florida Relays, the second meet that we had outdoors. I can't imagine what we're gonna do when it comes to nationals.
I mean, we've been talking about going under 3 minutes. I mean, my first meet, we got close to it. But I knew with this group of guys that we have here, we could definitely do it. I wasn't sure if we would do it this early, but it just shows what we could do later on.
2:59, that's great. I love competing, We had great runners, top 5 guys, top 3 guys in the world. So I mean, it feels great, compete with them, run with them, chase the record and things like that.
It's amazing. Knowing that we just went 2:59, we were also talking to ourselves that saying, we can go 2:59. We could do this. We just gotta trust ourselves. So knowing that we did it, it's a phenomenal feeling.
Well, I think the big thing there is that, again, those guys expect that. They have a goal to go faster, and I think the big thing is that we took a step towards that today. They've been working hard. I saw some things we can get better at, and we're going to get back to work on those on Monday. But I think the big thing is that, again, it happened here. It happened in front of our home crowd, and number 2 performance ever in collegiate history. It's just a phenomenal job.
Welcome back to historic Hayward Field. You're watching TrackTown Live. That was just a closer look at the Florida Gators 4x4 squad that ran the second best time in collegiate history, Paul. Only the 5th team to ever run under 3 minutes flat. And that's what I'm excited about our next guest, Gino Hall and his coach Mike Calloway. And Gino, a long time ago when you were a little kid, when I was running Oregon, we got close. We flirted with under 3 minutes. We ran like 3 flat, 86, and still finished 3rd in the race. Your thoughts when you saw that 2:59 flash up on the board and just how exciting that is for all 4 of you?
It was just a phenomenal feeling because we all really worked hard to get there. We really was talking about it all last year about how we was going to run under 3 flat, and we really didn't know we ran that fast. We just knew we was just running just to win, and we couldn't lose in front of our home crowd. So we just kept it going. We just stayed positive, trust each other, and boom, it just kind of happened.
And Coach, I know you're excited when you see that, but did any part of you think, save it for nationals, save that for nationals?
Nah, not really. I believe in my heart we can run faster. I think we will run faster, and you have to seize the moment. And it was a great meet in front of our home crowd, as Gino said. Great competition from the post-collegiate group that trains there in Gainesville. So obviously there was a little bit of pride on the line for both groups there. So, I never thought about it that way. Hopefully if I didn't mess them up, we'll run faster this weekend.
And Mike, you're going to need all that talent because you got 3 of them in the 400 open. You're going to potentially have that last race that could decide the team title. We'd love not to have to find a second first-place trophy this year and give one to one team and second place to another. Just give us a sense of, as you come in this year, you got to feel good about your chances. It's going to be a battle, and it's going to be a battle right to the end, isn't it?
Yeah, we wouldn't have it any other way. We kind of live for these situations. Everybody on the team, when I was recruiting them, we talked about being in battles like this, and we're really excited about it. You talk about A&M, you talk about the home team, Oregon, Arkansas, LSU, the tradition of a lot of the programs, Florida State. And, we're just happy and pleased and blessed more than anything else to be a part of the conversation.
Gino, it's been a lot of running for you the last year. You were World Championship semifinalist in Moscow. That experience of wearing the jersey of Team USA must have been special. The youngest team member of Team USA at 400 meters. Just give us a sense as you sort of dabble between the next stage of your career and still being part of the college scene. What does it mean for you to be here this week to help participate in what could be another national championship for the Gators?
It's a blessing to be here. Because of my season was kind of shaky because I was injured. I was nicked up a little bits and pieces. But luckily, by the Lord's blessing and his grace, I got myself together. Coach Holloway helped me out mentally and physically. And I'm back here. All I want to do is just try to help my team out. Hopefully I can run fast. Hopefully, if I can just win it.
He's sandbagging. I can tell you this right now. He is just,
you see that big
oh,
smile.
shucks, I'm just going to try to do my best.
I just hope to get out the blocks and do well.
Yeah, whatever.
Coach, talk more about Hayward Field and just this atmosphere that we're trying to establish here for the national championships to make it hopefully the permanent home. We see time and time again these athletes come here and they just light the world on fire, and there's just something about this track.
Yeah, it's a special place. You got an unbelievable group of fans that come here, and they're just not, obviously they're Oregon fans, anything that with the big O on the chest moves, they're going to cheer for, but they're appreciative of track and field as a whole. I'm not sure I agree on the whole permanent site thing. It's a long way for us to travel every year, and obviously when Oregon's as good as they are, it's hard to come here and compete against them every year, but that's something nobody gave me a vote on that. So, wherever they hosted me, if they hosted on the moon, the Gators will show up and do our best. I give you my promise. Give you my word on that one. So.
And Gino, your thoughts about this? Obviously, you're going to compete here, and maybe does it serve as, if they can make it work here, then it becomes a pilot to show how other markets around the country can embrace the sport, like a place like Eugene? Because right now, this is kind of the place that you sort of is the de facto home of U.S. track and field, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. And I don't understand why. Because American sprinters, distance runners, throwers, it doesn't matter. We all show up when it comes into like USA's, World, Olympics. And people just need to understand that tracks are really, really fun sports. It's great to watch. It's really entertaining. So hopefully people understand that it'll go through a lot more states and open up a lot more in the U.S.
Now, I was reading your high school nickname was Mean Machine. But you
how do y'all find that?
Dude, have you seen social media
he does
today?
His research.
Oh my God!
He does his research.
So, Give me a sense of what are you like on the track between the lines? Is that where the nickname comes from? Is there an intensity that just doesn't seem to come out in these glorified interview sessions on the web?
All right, so that nickname supposedly it came from my high school coaches because they say I would never run out of energy. So they just call me Machine. They call me Mean Machine because when it comes down to the 4x4 or anything I run, I just have no pity. And I just, like I just told Coach Holler when we was talking about, I love being a chaser. But if I don't have to do it, I don't want to do it. It just makes it more entertaining.
Well, Coach, what do you extract out of that reputation or that attitude that helps him bring leadership to the kind of program and culture you're trying to create there day in and day out?
Well, first of all, I appreciate your research because I didn't know about the Mean Machine thing. But
you can use that.
We will hear that again. I
right.
promise you that. But no, I think that what you see out of Gino and I are a lot alike. We're kind of cut from the same cloth. We're both very intense. We're both very passionate and prideful about what we do. And I figured that out, very quickly through the recruiting process. And so I appreciate that about him. I think that's what makes him, who he is, and I think that's what's going to make him even greater down the road. So would never try to, tarnish that or suppress that. He needs that to make him, his goal is to be the best quarter mile in the world. He's going to need every bit of that meanness to do that.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you both for joining us. Best of luck as you reach not only a team title, but that record in the 4x4, because we know LSU is the only team that's ran a time better than you. So will we see history made at Hayward Field this week? You have to tune in and find out. So much more coming up here on TrackTown Live. We'll take a closer look at the Texas A&M Aggies, favored in both the men's and women's races for the team title. We'll take a closer look. Stick around.
The Red Raiders dominated the field and secured the win with a 35.5-point lead over second place. It's Texas Tech's first conference title since 2005.
I'll tell you, it's been a special 3 days. We started off good on Friday, and then Saturday even got better with our qualifying, and then today was just incredible. I don't think we won but 2 events today, but everybody, 19 out of the 21 events, I believe, we scored in. So it just took everybody.
Heading into the final day of competition, the Aggies had their work cut out for them. The men were in 4th place, 27 points behind first place Georgia, while the women were tied for 10th. LaQuay Moen Davis got Sunday started by taking second in the triple jump with a leap of 44 6 3/4. Devin Bogart tossed the javelin 226 feet 2 inches for 4th place. Cameron Villarreal claimed 4th in the 5,000 with a time of 14:16.79, and Devin Harris cleared 6:11 3/4 for 4th place in the high jump. Texas A&M started their Sunday domination with a 4x100 relay. The Aggies swept the sprint relays and became the first team to do so since LSU in 1998. The Aggie men set an SEC championship meet record with a time of 38.50 to better the 38.53 set by Florida in 2011. Wayne Davis controlled the 110 hurdles from the start in claiming a school record 13.23 victory. Davis is now 5th on the all-time collegiate list. The Aggies swept the 400 titles for the first time since 1997, with Little and Lindor dominating each race. Little ranks 9th on the all-time U.S. juniors list and is also the current world junior leader in the 400 as well as the 400 hurdles. Lindor is now 7th on the all-time collegiate list, and he remained undefeated in conference in the 400 meters. His time of 44.36 broke a 40-year-old school record. Hardy returned to the top spot on the podium with a 10.31 clocking, with teammate Chavez Hart in the runner-up position.
10:30, not my best, but it got the win. It got us first and second, so this is what we're capable of, I believe. When we line it up on the track, men's and women's side, the sky's the limit for us. We can do whatever we want to do. It's just about believing in ourselves, believing in our training, and getting it done.
Greg Coleman set a career best of 49.88 in winning the men's 400 hurdles. Janelle Balil finished second for the women. In the 200 meters, Ekpone and Hardy completed their respective sprint sweeps. With a 22.23, Ekpone defeated the indoor 200-meter champion, who finished second. Hardy claimed his second ever sprint double championship, with Chavez Hart finishing as runner-up again. The final 2 wins for the Aggies came in the 4x400 relay, where the women clocked a 328.59, and the men posted an SEC championship meet record of 301.19. The victory sealed the deal for the men en route to their first Southeastern Conference outdoor title.
And our team was ready to go today. It's about everybody having a good day on the same day. We talk an awful lot about that. We talk about that during regular season, and I think it starts paying off in this scenario. Our people lined it up. I mean, there were some tremendous efforts from this team.
Welcome back to TrackTown Live. Another look in at the beautiful, historic Hayward Field, day 2 of practice. Don't forget the 2014 NCAA Championships kick off tomorrow at 11:30 with the men's decathlon. And you just saw Texas A&M, their success. Their men won their first SEC title since moving into the conference. And a man that called that meet is now with us, Larry Rawson. Larry, how are we doing this afternoon?
Jordan, we're doing well. It's been 2 or 3 days of preparation. When I want to get myself jacked up, I tell myself, let me see, there'll be about 120 universities here, maybe 125. And you've got to know something about most everybody and a lot about a few. And it goes on from, let me see, 12 hours on the air. Okay. You want to try and keep the quality as high as you can, be it cable or regular network. So there's plenty to get psyched up about.
A lot of folks that you and I know in the sport of track and field who look to this event each and every year as one of the highlights. Some who will travel here or trying to get to New York for the Diamond League later on the weekend because it's such a special event. The combination of all the schools you mentioned, a team race that's interesting, individual races that are interesting. Put it into context as someone who's seen a lot of track and field. What makes this so special?
I think it's a combination of things, and I try to give that some thought as we approach this weekend. Long story short, I think it goes back to its roots of high school track and field, and you get the particular measure of what you're talking about, Paul, when you look back over the last 30 years or so. As the internet has come along in the last 10 or 15 particularly, I can trace it really back, and it's too long a story for us here now, but to the 60s, when a gentleman from here went on the Olympic team back to the Olympic Games in 1960 and said to himself, my goodness, I got to study what's going on in New Zealand. 3 million people, and they're either breaking world records or setting Olympic records, and all that type of stuff. And Bill Bauman sought out Arthur Lydiard and said, why are you guys doing so well in middle distance and distance? And he described his program, and he was doing much more mileage than Bauman was giving the athletes of the day out here. And so he came back, and I've spoken with guys on that team who said our mileage got increased measurably. And the distance guys did well. They set a world record at 4x1, and long story short, they wound up the 1962-64 NCAA champions, in part because of how well the distance guys did. Fast forward the tape machine, and things have just gotten better and better. The internet has passed out other information, I think, that never was available. The coaching has gotten better. The clinics have gotten better. Athletes are faster and stronger as they come to college now. The times are really amazing. And so we wind up with very talented guys. There's more international athletes that are here competing in these colleges. And so we're getting a meet where you will just have the fastest 400 meters run in the world at the SECs. You will have 11 collegiate bests that are sensational, and perhaps 7 of them wind up in the top 10 in the world. And so take that story and multiply it, and that's why we're as great as we are. The athletes are training harder, the coaches know more, and they get a better product when they arrive in college.
Well, it'll be a treat for the fans who are here in the stands, but kudos to the guys that are bringing you in this week, ESPN, for stepping forward. We got live coverage on ESPN3 on Wednesday and Thursday, and then live broadcast on Friday and Saturday. So in a world where many of the complaints over the years is we have to watch this 2 weeks after it happened, a commitment to showing things as they happen is a great testament to where this sport needs to go.
And it's been growing, Paul. E3 now reaches 93 million homes. ESPNU is out to 74 and jumps every year. So our viewership is going, and I might add, track is so popular, in a relative sense, of course, but so popular. Our ratings are up 50% in the last 2 years on ESPNU of the SECs and the NCAAs. And the end result was that ESPN said last summer, we're going to try something different. Let's go to the events that have rated real well. When we need programming, when it's slow on the U in the summertime, we're going to add the events that have done the best. And they kept re-airing really well. And the end result was that they showed the SEC indoors and out, and the SEC outdoors and the NCAA outdoors a total last summer of 30 times. And they were delighted the ratings still held up.
Well, and we talk about 2014. A lot of the coaches and the athletes point back to the end in Albuquerque is, you you can't buy that kind of unscripted drama if you go out and try to get it on the open market from the writers around. And this weekend sets up conceivably for both the men's and the women's races to come down to that last race. I know you kind of throw out the form charts once we get into the mix, but as you kind of think ahead of how you're building that, that story to a crescendo, do you think it's going to come down to the last two?
I do, and the only thing that I think can eclipse that thing is the possibility of a drop baton or somebody getting thrown out, for jumping the gun in a race. I think those are the things that swing the most points, and certainly winning an indoor title, as Oregon did, on the last foot, or even 6 inches, you could say. No one would believe that, Jordan, if you know what I mean. But that's what it was, 2/100ths of a second. And if Ashley had dipped at the tape, Ashley Spencer, it might be a title that's down in Texas right now. It was that incredibly close. I don't think it could get ever in history in the next 100 years a closer NCAA title in track and field.
Well, Larry, I know you've done all your homework. You're one of the best guys in the business at doing that, and we've talked a lot about a lot of the marquee matchups. 1500, that women's 400 you mentioned, the 10, the 5, and the 15 on the men's side. Take us down a level for the person who maybe is coming into this learning about the sport and wanting to know what are the other things I should be paying attention to. What's underneath the surface that you think is going to be good competition to follow?
I think what I want to do? I'm going to go back and I'm going to take a look at the World Championships outdoors last year. And what I'd like to do when I do that is I want to compare what the top 5 finishers are. Because I think that these top 5 and the women's 400 could pretty much rival what occurred there. And I'm struck with just how great the fields are. I mean, we got a collegiate record holder. We got a freshman who's the 9th fastest collegian out there in collegiate history running also. The depth that Texas has is unbelievable. Tanja Buford-Bailey brought some great women with her when she became a coach there. From the University of Illinois. So, and I think Phyllis Francis is just one of the jewels that we will see in the future when she turns pro. So I think the women's 400 is marquee. I'm interested in Laura Raisler. I followed her career with her 22 titles, anywhere from 100 meters all the way up to cross country. You ever heard of that? Who ever heard of that? I'm waiting for you to run cross country. And
he probably could.
Speed stuff.
A little bit too much of that football weight right now, but I want to know, when you look at the team race, men and women, how are you seeing this thing shake out?
I think it's going to be very close. I do think it comes down to Texas and Oregon on the women's side. A&M could do well. Again, I've been around long enough that I've seen these upsets that we're talking about. And the upsets that I'm referring to, you can almost pick your poison. They just occur. And so I'm struck with those lead teams. It's frequently 3 of the top 10 in the country all the time, year in and year out, that are the marquee names, and they shift. They have magnificent programs. They have depth of coaching. They recruit extremely well, and they focus kind of on middle distance, 400-meter hurdles on down. They're great on the relays, and outdoors particularly this shines.
All right, well, Larry, thank you so much again for joining us. We're excited to see how this meet shakes out. And make sure you catch Larry in the ESPN broadcast over the next 4 days on ESPN3 and ESPNU. Stick around for more TrackTown Live when we come back.
They have spent their entire lives training for this, the moment they will become NCAA national champions. Let's go! To be a champion, they must conquer every challenge and separate themselves from the competition.
Boy, he is very fast.
Experience it live.
Look at the strength!
At the 2014 NCAA Division I Men's and Women's Outdoor Track and Field Championships, June 11th through 14th at historic Hayward Field in Eugene, Oregon. Affordable tickets available now. Visit ncaa.com/trackandfield.
In July, the world's best athletes under 20 years old will converge on TrackTown USA.
Future Olympians will run, throw, and jump into history at the IAAF World Junior Championships. Tickets on sale now. The world is coming to Oregon.
212 countries, 1 ticket.
Welcome back to TrackTown Live. Jordan Kent joined by Paul Swangard as we get set for the 2014 NCAA Championships kicking off tomorrow at Hayward Field. Begins at 11:30 with the men's decathlon. You can catch it on ESPN3. And Paul, we're talking more sprinters, which is more my style right here. And we turn to the Texas A&M on the women's side. Olivia Ekpone, we welcome you in, and your head coach.
Good pronunciation. Way to go.
Well, she helped me out. I'm going to be completely honest.
She's been called everything. I'm telling you right now.
My God. Well, I'm glad, you know, I've been pretty decent with the names so far, so that's good. And then Mr. Pat Henry, it's great to have you here.
Thank you.
And Olivia, your thoughts as you get set for your 100-200 double. How are you feeling as you get set here?
I'm feeling pretty good right now. Right now I'm just looking at it as a team perspective. I have to make sure I do what I'm supposed to do, and for this 100 and the 200, I just hope to execute my races as well as I can.
Well, that sounds simple enough. Coach, do you believe her?
It's real easy, isn't it?
Yeah. What makes her special? I mean, you've seen a lot of special athletes over the years, this one in particular.
She has good intensity about what she does. She's, you know, she has a plan for what's going on. She doesn't just show up. She's got a plan for herself. She thinks through the race. She trains very hard. And I think if you can do those things, you have a great opportunity to be a great competitor.
And what does it mean to you to have her first say it's all about team? I mean, this is a mixture. You know, it's an individualized sport, and yet we're here to crown, at the end of the day, a team champion, and that's what you're trying to build in your culture at A&M year in and year out.
No question. The team aspect of this is the most important aspect of it at this time of year, and especially for our program. I think that's what people relate to, and I think that's part of what we're going to try to do. Is we're going to try to be competitive as a team on both sides.
Olivia, you're coming off a school record 22-23 in the 200. And the beauty of the NCAA meet is you're there for an individual because you want to do the best you can as an individual and get that title. How does the team race affect you when you get in the blocks each time, though?
Well, the thing I think of the most when I'm in my blocks is you have to do this for Texas A&M. We're here as a team. We're going to try to do the best that we can. But as far as helping the team, I also have to work on myself. I have to make sure I'm executing the race I'm supposed to. I'm making sure that when I'm in the blocks, I'm pushing out as hard as I can, making sure I'm driving as hard as I can, and also just coming across the line where I'm supposed to be.
Pat, you got a number of trophies in the trophy case, and so when you talk, people listen in this sport. And I was at the Track and Field Riders Association breakfast last year here, where you were talking about the idea of team really mattering. I know you spoke to that just a second ago. You know, the decision to bring this meet to Eugene. Now we've got a place, and this is going to build for the next 8 years. But you also floated the idea of, you know, it'd be nice to have more teams in this battling for a team championship. If you go deep down the list in the form charts, there's just going to be maybe 5 teams on either side that have a legitimate shot of winning. What are your thoughts now, a year later, of, you know, how do we continue to move this sport in the right direction collegiately?
I think if you continue to qualify the way we qualify, what you just said is correct. There are only a few teams, 6, 8, 10 teams that have the opportunity to be successful. I think it would dictate that we have to qualify different. We have to be competitive across the board in events, and then you come back just like every other sport and you figure out, okay, who are our best teams? We know this school's got maybe 6 or 8 great individuals, but do they have a team environment? We can do that. Our sport's not that hard. I mean, when it comes down to it, we got to stop watching a tape measure. Well, you can get it figured out who's got a good team, and that's the direction I think we have to go. In my opinion, I would rather see us. You know, I'm big on the individual. Don't get me wrong, because I think at this one, right now, we bring individuals and they add it up as a team at the end. And that you have all season long to do that. By the time we get to here, we know who has teams, and I think that's the way we have got to go. I think the general public only understands teams. You just said 22-2. We know how fast that is, but I don't think the general public out there, they don't have a clue. They just know that the girl from Texas A&M ran fast, but they do know if red beats blue, and that's what we got to get to, in my opinion.
And Olivia, your thoughts on this idea to make the championships more of a 8, 12, 16, whatever you call it, team championship, where sure, it might not be the most elite athletes in each event, but it is that team environment where every race certainly has huge implications for the team format, much more like a traditional softball, baseball, or basketball tournament.
Exactly, and when Coach Henry talks to the team at our team meetings, he always makes sure that we understand it's not just first, second, and third. It's also those 5th place, 6th place, 7th, and 8th, because when you come to the championship as big as this, 1 point actually does count. So we all have to make sure that we're all making sure we're qualifying in our individual races, because when you make it as an individual, it helps the team out.
So I have a great idea. We'll take the top 8 finishers, or the finalists in the 200 meters, make them 2 foursomes, and we'll go play golf after the the meet.
That's a real bad
I think
idea.
you'd still be favored in both the 100 and 200, wouldn't you? It sounds like you're a pretty good golfer, aren't you?
I actually am. I used to golf when I was growing up. As from Maryland, I used to do a whole lot of sports. I used to figure skate, swimming. I did a whole bunch of stuff, softball, but I finally narrowed it down to golf and track, but I felt like track was my life. And I told Coach Henry we need to go hit a couple golf clubs when we get back.
We got some nice courses, and I won't. We have no sponsorship deal, so I won't name them by name. But
if you want to be a sponsor, though, all it takes is one 18-hole round from Paul and I. We'll give you some love.
Olivia
right away.
can come.
Absolutely.
I'd love to
Olivia
come.
and Coach.
Coach,
that'd be great. You can go out there and swing the sticks, all right?
I live on a golf course, and I can't make
There you
enough
go.
time to get out there and play.
Usually they say with a coach, the better golfer he is, the worse he is at his coaching, and then vice versa. That was the line that I heard a lot of coaches say. But when you look at coaches don't pay attention to the form chart much. And when you get to this point in the season, how much are you really showing anything new to your athletes, or is it just a matter of maintaining them and making sure that they're focused heading into the final day?
Well, I think we just went through 2 rehearsals of that. The Southeastern Conference Championship is as good a track meet as there is. And so, 5 weeks ago, the preparation for this meet, you were there. And to go back what we're talking about, the best meet we compete in all year is the Southeastern Conference Championship, because that's one school trying to beat another school. But that's a great rehearsal for this first round we went through up in Arkansas, and it's a great rehearsal for what we're fixing to go through here in the next 4 days. So we're prepared. We feel good about who we are and what we've done. And we'll see how it shakes out.
And do you have one person on your team that you're particularly hopeful will be kind of the secret sauce to success? We know you might be one of those people that will lead this team to victory, but who else do you feel is in a good position to help out as well?
I can't actually name one individual because we all work out very hard.
Yep.
We're very tight-knit group. As long as everyone does what they're supposed to do, it all will work out in the end.
He's got my message. I must admit, it's all team, which is I love it, and you guys have proven that year in and year out. So success to you guys, hopefully this week, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like the idea of that team concept someday.
I like the golf.
That's
that's my takeaway from this.
Kidding. Golf definitely. Well, we heard from Texas A&M. We've talked a lot about the Texas women and the 400 field that they have stacked, but on the men's side, they also have one of the best shot putters in the country. We'll have a chance to talk to them when we come back on TrackTown Live.
The Red Raiders dominated the field and secured the win with a 35.5-point lead over second place. It's Texas Tech's first conference title since 2005.
I'll tell you, it's been a special 3 days. We started off good on Friday, and then Saturday even got better with our qualifying, and then today was just incredible. I don't think we won but 2 events today, but everybody, 19 out of the 21 events, I believe, we scored in. So it just took everybody just doing a little bit, and you look up and we have a lot of points. And it was just so special to be able to win it at home.
The domination didn't stop with the men. Texas also beat out the field by 35.5 points. And with the title under their belt, the Longhorn women walk away with the season sweep, claiming the outdoor and indoor crowns for the first time since 2006.
Complete team effort, starting with the staff. The coaches did a phenomenal job in getting everybody prepared for this. We knew as soon as, I would say, the 200 meters. And, and that was the great thing that we talked about. We wanted to obviously solidify and win the conference. And at the same time, we're getting ready now for the postseason with the NCAA regional and the finals in the middle of June. And so we tried to, if we maximize in enough areas that we could even help our team efforts out for down the road. And that's where we didn't run Mary Ellen the 5. We didn't need to run the 4x4 and stuff like that. So hopefully those things will come back and pay some huge dividends down the road.
How long do you get to enjoy this before heading to postseason?
I will let it kind of sit in for a couple of days, and then it's right back to work and stuff. But you know, like I said, my hat goes off to the entire team. It's fun to be a part of. We've accomplished our first goal. Now we get ready for the national championships.
The high point champs of the meet belong to each of the winning teams. Texas Tech junior Cole Weldon scored 24 points with second-place finishes in the hammer, the shot put, and the discus. Weldon is the first Red Raider to take home the honor since 2005. In the women's high point, Texas sprinter Morlakea Keenison scored 22.5 points to come away with the award. Keenison claimed titles in the 100 and 200-meter dashes and ran leadoff for the 4x100-meter relay.
Wednesday through Saturday. Well, Paul, if you didn't feel like the smallest guy in the set before, now you definitely, it's nothing against you, but we've talked a lot about the women of Texas.
That's the theme of this show now.
That's the theme of the show. We've talked a lot about the women of Texas. However, on the men's side, though, they're led in the shot put by Ryan Krauser, and their coach, Mario Satania, joins us. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming up here. And Ryan, you're from Boring, Oregon, so this is a little bit of a homecoming for you coming to Hayward Field.
It is. I've competed here quite a few times now. I mean, state meets through high school and then a couple times for nationals. And it's always great to come home. I mean, get a throw in front of the family, friends. So, I mean, it's a great time, and the weather's been great so far. So, if Eugene has good weather, it's hard to beat it.
And Mario, we just saw the highlights of the Big 12 championship. Congratulations to you in that first year as head coach. You know, you're a former NCAA champion of the decathlon, so you have a sense of what it is to compete at this level. What's been your message to your team that you brought out here as they challenge for individual and potentially some trophy hardware for the team?
Well, the goal from day one, even back in the fall, was, you know, obviously putting ourselves in position at the conference level. We were able to achieve that on the women's side with two titles this year. The men were second, both in and out. That's always the first step, and then, you know, advancing as many athletes as we could through the West region and getting ready for the finals. You know, at this point, you're with the best of the best, and whether they've been here before at other national meets, conference, or a part of junior teams and things of that sort, they know what the goals and the expectations are. So I think the approach has to be to keep everybody relaxed, keep it kind of loose, you know, because if they're on edge at all times, you know, it's still a 4-day competition. And so we just, you know, kind of take care of the little things behind the scenes for them, and starting tomorrow, let them go out there and showcase their skills.
And Ryan, you talked about having performed here so many times. You know, this is the home now for the NCAA Championships, at least for the next 8 years. And you guys coming from Texas, obviously on the women's side, you know, you hope that this isn't a hometown advantage, because that race is going to go down to the very end. But what is it about this venue as an athlete that's something that hopefully can be replicated elsewhere around the country? What makes this place special for you?
I mean, it's definitely the atmosphere. You come here and it's they sell out the stands. I mean, the people here know track and field. That's what makes it great. You can have the national championship anywhere and people will perform great, but the fact that you just have so much support here and the atmosphere is really unusual. It gets the same attention that, say, baseball, football, basketball does other places. I mean, track athletes put in just as much work as any other sport, and just to see some recognition for that is really special.
Well, there were a lot of educated fans in the stands that when they heard you were going to Texas were a little saddened by that, but it's been a great, you know, obviously for you. What has it been about that atmosphere and that training regimen that really has taken you where you thought you'd be at this point in your career?
I mean, anytime that anyone has a successful career, I mean, you really see it at Texas. It's the people that are behind the scenes. I mean, the strength coaches that we have done an unbelievable job. I mean, the coaches, the medical staff, I mean, all of it kind of comes together. And I feel like that was a main reason I went to Texas. Not that Oregon doesn't have it, but, I mean, it really, really shows anytime anyone has success. So a lot of people don't get the recognition they deserve. So I just like to give thanks to them.
They just did. And Mario, you know, everything is bigger in Texas, and this guy's been throwing over 70 feet when no one else in the colleges seemed to reach that mark. Unbeaten against a collegian since last March of 2013. What has made him so special as an athlete and take advantage of the platform you provide for him down there?
Well, I you know, along the same lines what Ryan was talking about, I think first and foremost it starts in the weight room, and we've got one of the best strength coaches in America, and Trey Zabeta. And he's done a phenomenal job, I think, in progressing and having a plan over the 5 years that Ryan was going to be there collegiately from day one. I think it's been spot on. But again, with the medical, when these guys are, you know, going to the task every single day of trying to be the very best, you've got to do the little things, and that's where they come into play. Because to compete at this level, you know, obviously he brings a tremendous background with him, but he's always trying to push himself along with everybody else in our program. And when we have some of the best doctors, the best trainers and stuff out there day in and day out, it's going to only help to get to the level that we need to.
And Ryan, you're a big fella.
Yeah.
You're light on your feet, as we saw there. You can move well. You're athletic. Texas is known for another sport, football. When did you decide that shot put, throwing, track and field was going to be your thing? Because usually a lot of big-bodied guys, it's more of like a football focus than, oh, I'm going to do shot put or track on the side. But for you, this is what you're claiming. When did that become clear to you?
I mean, growing up, I did a little bit of everything, football, basketball, baseball, track, and it kind of just grew on me slowly. All through high school, I actually played more basketball than I did track. So, I mean, I thought I might play basketball, but just looking kind of at it as I grew up, I kind of track was what came naturally to me. And then I really like the individual sport. I enjoy the team, but I like being able to measure your individual performance so easily. I mean, you could have the best game of your life, and your team can still lose in football or basketball. But I like to be able to go out and say, today I was the best I've ever been, and that's a definite thing.
And, Coach, you're smiling over there as he says that. I mean, you work with an athlete like this. I mean, where else could you see him excelling? Because you don't see athletes.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Well, I think going back, I don't think Ryan had a choice. I don't think his family, whether it was his own dad or anybody else, was going to let him do any other sport. But no, we've been super fortunate to have Ryan a part of this program and stuff, and just continue the history. You know, it's been a wonderful journey, and I think he's just still obviously scratching the surface right now.
Ryan, do you have a favorite in the men's javelin competition by chance?
I mean, I'm going to have to say my cousin. He's a little banged up right now, but I think talent-wise he's extremely talented, and he works extremely hard. I think if he can just hold his body together for a couple throws, he should be able to win it. But also Fabian, we have a little guy from Paraguay. He's 5'4", 5'5", so he's going to be the smallest guy out there. But he trains hard, and I think he could be an underdog to maybe, I think, hopefully make the podium, but be on the upper end of it. So. And
I know the fishing's good in Texas, though the water levels are sometimes suspect. Do you sneak out for a little of the salmon run that's going on right now? I know you love to throw a pole in the water.
I've tried, but right now kind of just focusing on track. So maybe
you're a good man.
Maybe later on in the summer.
Yeah, and Mario, you know that women's race is going to be just phenomenal to watch as you get ready for the battle ahead on the team side. Again, what's that message about trying to bring home a championship?
Well, I think the biggest thing is there was, you know, what we took away from the indoor experience. You know, we were very fortunate to come away with a team trophy and to be in the mix going into the last event. You know, like we've said before, as a track fan, I mean, what better way to decide a national championship? And we came up, you know, a little bit short, no doubt. But, you know, I know that at the end of the 4 days, those young ladies are going to take what that experience gave them and use that. And for our sake, you know, if everything goes right, maybe it doesn't even come down to the 4x4. You know, we've got some great athletes, some great young ladies that are going to be competing over these next 4 days. And I look to Saturday, we've got, you know, Shanae Briscoe on the high jump. We've got Mariel Hall, one of the best 5,000-meter runners and stuff, and they all know what they need to do again, and I think it's gonna really help to take and alleviate some of the pressures off some of the, you know, the 4x4 and everybody else.
Well, Coach, best of luck this week with the men's and women's team. Ryan, it's great to have you back throwing in front of the crowd that cheered you on in high school. We hope both of you have a fantastic meet over the next 4 days. Make sure that you tune in to ESPN3, ESPNU. They'll have all the coverage of the NCAA meet. So much more coming up when we come back on TrackTown Live.
Mere words can't express the power of competition. You just know it's there. 10 teams, 1 goal. the Big 12 Conference.
There is a place where pioneers go. A place inspired by the pursuit of knowledge and the athletic ideal. 12 universities, 111 Nobel laureates. More national titles than any other conference, by far. This is our blueprint for excellence. It's what makes us the Conference of Champions.
Town Live, you're taking a look in at historic Hayward Field just after 2 o'clock here on the West Coast as the teams get set for the 2014 NCAA Championships, second and last day of practice. And a lot of teams are flown in yesterday, Paul, even though they were warming up. Athletes that have events later on in the week, they like to take a day before they come into town.
Yeah, it's an adjustment period. We said that there are conditions to get used to. The pollen levels can be notoriously high this time of year. They have been, and I think a lot of the athletes just want to get here, feel that they were dialed in, ready for their competition.
All right, well, this time we'd like to welcome up a couple of BYU Cougars, Jason Witt and his coach, Ed Eyestone. Welcome to the program. It's great to have you here. Smiles on your face, nice and relaxed.
Great.
And, it feels like you're feeling pretty good.
Great to be here. Perfect day in Eugene. No rain, so this is nice.
Well, you're, Ed, one of those guys who experienced dealing with these conditions as a runner. You're back where you won a 10,000-meter title back in 1984. Back here as a coach, just, that sense of what it means to be here now leading a team in an NCAA championship.
Yeah, I ran here quite a few times, and actually I think this was my first NCAA title here my junior year. And, so I have very fond memories of this track. And I can't believe it's been 30 years. Please tell me it hasn't been 30 years since that happened back in 1984.
I can't lie to you.
You weren't born yet, so.
Oh, wow. Now I can lie to you. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Jason, this is just a great opportunity. You got in kind of by the skin of your teeth to make it to this meet, but that's as important as talking to Ryan Krauser, who's obviously the favorite in the shot put, and just that experience of being at a championship meet, and just put it in perspective for someone who's coming in here really with no expectation other than just to perform as well as you can on that final day, which is tomorrow night in the 10,000.
Yeah, well, it was a very exciting moment to be able to qualify for this meet. The main purpose of the regional meet is to try to advance. And so, whether you're first, second, or 12th, we all made it here. And so, it's a new day tomorrow, and hopefully I can just put together a great race.
And as you came here to step on the track, run here before?
I have. My freshman year, the regional meet was held at this location.
Okay,
so.
and just the idea of running in the steps of legends. I won't even point at your coach, but historic Hayward Field has an energy and a vitality, and the fans appreciate not only the first finisher but potentially the 24th finisher, and just looking forward to that towing the line for that race tomorrow night.
Yeah.
And Coach, we sometimes see what's beautiful about this meet is the form charts will have your top 8s and your favorites, and those that are predicted to score. But then there will be athletes that nobody really gave a chance to come in and score that sneak in and surprise a lot of people, and especially when you get to a distance race.
Well, and that's certainly true. And Jason Witt won the Stanford Invitational and then underwent a bit of an injury there. So we were just happy that he was able to advance, but he's had a couple more weeks since that time. So I think his fitness level is approaching or hopefully surpassing when he won the Stanford Invitational. So, we expect him to be in the hunt at least for an All-American, first-team All-American, and that's great given the talent and the depth of the 10,000 meter that's going to be performing here tomorrow.
And that's one of the things that fans who will fill the stands tomorrow are looking forward to. Ed, you've been around the sport a lot. You've been a columnist. You've been outspoken, I think, in many occasions about what this sport needs to be successful in the long term. How does staging a national championship in the same place for the next 8 years fit into that strategy, you think?
Well, I think when you can host a meet as well as the University of Oregon can host, then we're in good hands, good shape. Hopefully, you're not an athlete or individual that has issues with allergies. I guess if you were, then you might be thinking otherwise. I know that the sprinters sometimes on those rainy days aren't really stoked about it, but in terms of a distance runner, as long as you can keep your allergies in check, this is a great place. You're going to have an amazing crowd and such a knowledgeable fan base here that I think the coaches look at it as a fun place to come. I know the athletes are excited about being here, so we're looking forward to the next week.
And you're kind of done tomorrow night, right? You're only running in the 10,000 meters, so you sit back and get to be part of the fans here at historic Hayward Field. Anything on the form chart you're particularly interested in looking at, just as a fan of the sport of track and field?
Well, I'm going to be looking forward to the distance races in particular. really looking forward to watching the showdown in the 5K and to see how that turns out.
Well, your coach was an analyst at in Beijing in 2008. So putting your analyst cap on for a second, who wins the 5,000 and why? I love putting you on the spot.
Yeah,
I could just sense that.
And he's a guy who could talk about it for 30 minutes, too. Maybe he will.
We've got a little less than that. But, your thoughts about that 5,000. We had Lowy on earlier, and it's a deep field, and anything can happen. I guess it depends on the race strategy, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, it does. I think Kathuka will probably take it out, and Lalang may do a little work with him up front, and I think Lalang will hold off Ches.
And, Coach, we've talked to a couple other coaches about the structure of the national championship. And should it be a meet that's all individuals, or should they have it be something where you're taking the 8 to 12 to 16 top teams and you make it truly a team competition? Your thoughts on that idea?
Well, I think it's, I think the format that we've been following for years and years and years, I think is the most fair in terms of the individual athletes. I mean, if you were an individual athlete who didn't happen to go to one of those 8 to top 12 teams, then I think you'd be feeling a little shut out if you were the #1 guy going into the 10,000, 5,000, whatever event it would be. So I think they would have to take that into account, have some individual ability to advance as well. But one thing I think the track and field needs is people with bright minds to kind of look over what can help this model be even more successful than what it currently is.
Excellent. And finally, when you look at the men's race, a lot of times, even though teams might not necessarily have a chance to win the overall title, there's still that interest in that drama. You look at Oregon, Florida, Texas A&M. Do you see anybody that you think is going to be the favorite for this meet?
I think Oregon at home is going to be awful tough to beat, especially as strong as they are. It seemed like at the regional meet they were just advancing everybody that was there. They had a big group of people. They had 35 people individually qualifying on the men's side at regionals. We had 32, so we had the second most individuals qualified, and we're hoping to get to the point where we can get again as many people qualified for the national meet as the U of O's and the Floridas are currently doing. But I would say both on the men's and women's side, University of Oregon is going to be tough to beat.
All right, Coach. Well, best of luck this week. You do have 4 top 10 finishes in your career, of course. So it's always exciting to kind of see what BYU does when they come in, and they always compete well, compete hard, and that's what the meet's for. You never know what's going to surprise you. You can break down the form charts as much as you want, but it comes down to the athletes competing. Don't forget all that coverage on ESPN3 and ESPNU Wednesday through Saturday. So much more when we come back on TrackTown Live, so make sure you stick around.
They have spent their entire lives training for this, the moment they will become NCAA national champions. Let's go! To be a champion, they must conquer every challenge and separate themselves from the competition.
Boy, he is very fast.
Experience it live.
Look at the strength.
At the 2014 NCAA Division I Men's and Women's Outdoor Track and Field Championships, June 11th through 14th at historic Hayward Field in Eugene, Oregon. Affordable tickets available now. Visit ncaa.com/trackandfield.
In July, the world's best athletes under 20 years old will converge on TrackTown USA.
Future Olympians will run, throw and jump into history at the IAAF World Junior Championships. Tickets on sale now. The world is coming to Oregon.
212 countries, 1 ticket.
Welcome back to TrackTown Live. Jordan Kent, joined by Paul Swangard, of course. We're here at historic Hayward Field, home of the 2014 NCAA Championship, as things are getting set to get going here, Paul. Men's decathlon tomorrow, 11:30. Coverage begins on ESPN3, so you will not want to miss that. This time, we're joined by some of our friends down south at USC, Alik Harris and Carol Smith-Gilbert. How are both of you doing?
Good. Nice to be here.
Good. And you've had a chance to run at this track before, and you're familiar with it. Your thoughts on just Eugene and this atmosphere that comes here whenever we have a national championship?
Last year when I was here, I actually had a bone bruise, so I really didn't get to perform as well as I wanted to. So this year coming in, I'm really excited coming in with it's kind of personal for me to come in and just do well and excel and execute the way that I believe that I can.
I was saying, Carol, you take over this program, storied history, more national championships at USC than any other program by like 16. the culture of excellence that you try to bring, well, mentioning the fact that you went to UCLA, and that's probably a story for another day.
We won't talk about it.
What do you think it takes now in this combined model of men's and women's programs to bring everyone together for this common goal of bringing USC back to where I think still everyone in track and field, when they see that jersey out, is thinking, hey, this is going to be one of the best in the field?
Yes. I think it takes teamwork, collaboration, hard work more than anything, and just true commitment and character building. If you build the character of a person, then of an athlete, the performance always is sure to follow. And I mean performance academically as well as athletically, because USC is academics and athletics. So we just have a lot of fun. I'm pretty tough. It works. They understand it.
It's a good formula. Well, you know, I was struck. I announced in stadium in Pullman at the Pac-12 Championships, and every time we announced an athlete from your program, you all were sitting together, and you all said something after we announced the name in sort of a unison of support for your teammates. I don't see that from many schools, and so your feeling about being part of something larger than yourself, obviously for a guy who just in and of yourself is a pretty darn good track and field athlete.
Yeah. Coach Carroll brought a program that is based on discipline, that's based on unity, that's based on excellence, and I think that our program is thriving from that. From her instilling that in us this year. So what you're seeing on the field has basically started in the fall season and when she walked through the door. So.
And it seems to be working for you individually. How do you take that notion of team and the discipline and that culture and how do you fuse that into what you're trying to do individually?
For me, I've always thrived off of discipline, and that's just the type of guy that I am. I like a regiment, a nice disciplined regiment, and you know, that's just what I like. So when she came in and she had a philosophy, she came in with that philosophy, I told her that, you know, that it's going to be a great season because I performed well with that.
And he's performing well. He ran
yes,
kind of fast at the regional meet.
Pretty
Yeah,
decent.
like number 2 all time on the collegiate list. What have you seen in his growth and development as a hurdler, and what does he still have to accomplish, giving a little coaching real time as we prepare for this big meet this week?
What I've seen, like Alik said, day one he came in and said, hey, I need you to be tough on me, which was fine. That works out. That's what I was going to do anyway. But I think the biggest improvement Alik has made is in his personal life. He's really focused. He's made a commitment. He's followed through with it. We've had ups and downs. He's very honest with me on what he thinks he needs and how he's feeling. I yell at him once a week about something he didn't do exactly 100% perfect. And he's kind of like, oh, coach, nope, get it right. So I just have been pretty relentless, but I'm very proud of who he's become as a man before he graduates. This weekend, all he has to do is run his race and stay focused. You can't control what anyone else can do. You can always control your race pattern, and do what you can do and let the chips fall where they may.
Alik, Coach just talked about how she was tough on you. How do you perceive her toughness, and how has that helped you in your last couple of years here?
Like I said, it's been great for me. You know, it's helped me execute. You know, and we're running hurdles. That's a big thing. The best you can execute usually is the guy that comes out with the win. So her being disciplined on me and expecting excellence all the time, her and Coach L'Oreal Smith, it just translated out on the track. So it's actually been great for me and working out well.
Don't want to manufacture a rivalry that might not exist, but obviously you're going up against Wayne Davis II, and you guys were at the regional meet but didn't run in the same race. You haven't faced each other head-to-head. I know there are 8 people in the final if you make it through the rounds, and you guys both could be towing it line to line. Is there something built into the possibility of being able to face him in that championship final? Because that's kind of what the fans are looking forward to.
Well, I mean, the entire field is actually, you know, is packed. You know, the guy from Oregon, freshman from Oregon, Indiana State, Eddie Lovett, and obviously Wayne. So it's going to be a great head-to-head, us two, and I think we're both anticipating it. But also for me personally, I'm anticipating everybody else, because in track and field, man, anybody can show up at any time. So Wayne is obviously on the, you know, Wayne is obviously up there, but along with a couple of other guys. So for me, it's just about going out there, like Coach said, and just focusing on my lane and executing the best that I can, and let the chips fall where they may.
But you got to be looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am. Actually, I'm more excited.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. I'm more excited than even nervous. You know, I'm excited about, you know, racing him, and that's what I've been wanting, you know, because he has always set the standard. So I'm excited.
And Coach, what I really like about you, it's not about just building athletes, but building men and women.
Correct.
And what lesson do you want them to take away from this championship experience that they're going to relate to for the rest of their lives?
Well, I think the biggest lesson is when you're in between those two white lanes or on that runway or wherever you are, there's just you there. And that's the way life is. No one's accountable for you but you. Whatever you do, good or bad, is because of you. And track and field is the purest sport in the world, and I think it's because it's the most parallel to life. It mimics life in its entirety. It's all on you, and you have to make something happen, and it teaches these young people how to deal with life and how to deal with stress, especially in this day and age.
Well, Carol, Alik, thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck out there this week. It's good to have you back, feeling healthy. And, of course, we love having USC here, just the team support. It seems to really fuel all of your athletes together. We'll definitely keep an eye on you, and you can keep an eye on them by tuning into ESPN3 and ESPNU. Coverage all week, Wednesday through Saturday, here at Hayward Field, home of the 2014 NCAA Outdoor Track and Field Championships. So much more coming ahead on TrackTown Live when we come back. Stick around.
Since I started college. It's an amazing feeling. It was finally my day, and I seriously couldn't have done it without my teammates. What a great feeling having them right there to push me and to support me, and I supported them. And my coach is so great too. He's awesome, and I just love it. Today was the best day of my life. Generally tucking in behind people and trying to kind of outkick them at the end rather than take the lead, and it's taken a while for me to kind of figure that out, but it worked well this race. And to have teammates behind me who are so talented, oh, I'm so blessed to have them.
Touch coming up. 60. Way to the line.
To hear the announcer saying all of those things and accolades about me, it was kind of cool, and it kind of made me realize that I am meant to be here, and I'm meant to be racing with the best. So yeah, it's really special to add another title to that.
I mean, we've been close so many times, 8 points here, 7 points there, 10 points here, and then all of a sudden, to be able to win it. That's real special. And even what's more special is that our boss, the athletic director, brought his entire staff out here to be a part of it. So that just makes the kids, and it definitely makes the coaches feel real good about what we're doing and how much we appreciate it.
Welcome back to historic Hayward Field. Jordan Kent joined by Paul Swangard as we are getting set for the 2014 NCAA Outdoor Track and Field Championships. And Paul, we've had a chance to talk to some great athletes and their coaches, and it seems like everyone's just really excited to be here and happy to have landed and getting in the routine.
Yeah, it's been a great experiment. We didn't know what to expect when we said we were going to do 90 minutes, day one, day two, leading into the championships. All the coaches and particularly the athletes have been gracious with their time. I think they're all excited for just the championships to happen. And getting close to the end here of our broadcast, it's been a joy to work with you as we have had a chance to do. But we got to at least get the media guys to be brought into this to make those predictions that ultimately will be played back on Saturday night, shown to be either prophetic or whatever would the opposite of that.
Well,
would be silly.
a lot of times those media members put their necks out there, make a prediction, and we've got two of the best in the business here with Ken Go and Chris Hansen joining us. Gentlemen, it starts tomorrow with the decathlon at 11:30. Your thoughts as we head into this meet and just some of the storylines that you see developing over the next couple days.
Well, we look at it from an Oregon perspective usually, so we're looking at it through the prism of whether can the Ducks sweep, which I don't believe has ever been done in the same season. An indoor and outdoor sweep. Oregon won indoors this spring, and now they have a chance to make it historic. So that's the way I'm looking at it. I think the men have a very good chance to win. I think the women's chances are a little bit thinner. I like Texas in the women's meet. I think they got more opportunities to score, and they're not relying on a few people as much as Oregon is. Oregon just has a few individuals that they're counting on for a lot of points. But I think the Oregon men have points spread out across the board, including in the distances. I think they're very strong in the 5,000 and 10,000 meters, and I think the Ducks have a very good chance to win the men's meet.
Yeah, I agree with Ken. I think, like you said, I think the men's race is going to be decided for Oregon in those two distance races. I think that's where we're going to score the bulk of their points, and if they can't get their points there, I'm not sure where else they can make them up. On the women's side, Oregon, they're going to be in it. They're going to be in it to the end, and I think this is going to be an exciting meet on the women's side. Do they have enough? They're going to have to score some points in areas where maybe the form chart doesn't see them getting points. And they're also going to need a big meet from Jenna Prandini, I think. They're going to have to get probably maybe 20 points from her, 20, 24 points from her.
Yeah, it's interesting that the top two teams on the women's side sort of different strategies to win, right? So you've got a team in Texas that can pull together three or four women in the 400 and pick up points in individual events, but Oregon is, I got to get my stars like Raessler and Francis, and is there undue pressure on Jenna Prandini coming in and now is expected, at least on the form chart side, to amass first or second place points in 100, 200, long jump, going to be part of the relays? That's a lot to ask. I think there's only 3 women who are attempting 3 individual events, and none of the other 2 women have anything to do with the team race. So a lot on her shoulders, huh, Ken?
Yeah, I don't think it's undue pressure. I think she's put herself in a position to be able to do that, but there is pressure, and they're asking an awful lot out of her. It's a little bit similar to what they asked out of English Gardner last year, and English broke down. Yeah, if she holds up and if she comes through, then she helps put Oregon in position. But, yeah, there is a lot on one person.
We were looking at, we were actually talking with Larry Rawson earlier, getting ready for the ESPN broadcast, and he was looking at comparing marks at the World Championships last year to some of the fields we'll see in some of these events like the women's 400 and others. I mean, it would be a lot cheaper just to come to Eugene, buy a ticket for this meet, than go to the World Championships, because we're going to see that kind of quality out of some of our marquee events.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly one thing that when people talk about the college system, that's one thing they point to, is that it's probably one of the best developmental systems in track and field there is the American college system. So I don't think that's surprising. That happens most years. There are a few events where you get some of the top people in the world. Ryan Krauser of Texas, one of the top shot putters in the world right now, not just on the college level.
And Chris, when we talked to Pat Henry at Texas A&M, he had floated out an idea a year ago, and I think other coaches had responded to it about, the layman fan just knows that Oregon is in green and Texas is in orange and doesn't really care how fast or how slow a particular person's running, and perhaps a model where you just brought teams to a championship and ran it almost like the cross-country championships. Your thoughts about just how the format of this currently is set up, and do you feel like the casual fan, many of whom are going to be reading about this track meet in the papers of the Register Guard, do they get it that deep, and do we need to simplify it in order to get that casual fan involved?
Well, that's a good question. I've only been doing this year, so that's a heavy question for me to answer. I think
channel your Curtis Anderson.
I am going to try. I'm going to try. I do think that what's exciting about this meet is the fact that it's a team scoring meet, and I do think that translates to the casual fan. I think that they can come in here and see a team, and they can get into a team score, and they can get into a team event where maybe in other meets it's hard to kind of grasp what each event really means, other than who won individually. As so many people run time trials at certain meets, and they're not competing to win. And I think here people are competing to win, and I think that is what resonates with the fans.
Yeah, and I think another good thing about the NCAA meet, one thing that makes it special is you can have an outstanding individual from a small school, and they may not be in the team race, and certainly in the Pat Henry scenario would not be included, but can come here. Abby D'Agostino, for instance, have a great meet, have a wonderful experience, showcase her ability in a way that she would be excluded from if we were only taking the top 5 or 10 teams.
I'm always curious, what athletes are you really keeping an eye on just to see them in person? When I was competing, you see a Wallace Spearman, a Walter Dix, a Jeremy Werner in person. You stop what you're doing, and you make sure you catch their race. Who are some of those individuals for both of you?
Abby D'Agostino is going to be one for me. I think it's going to be pretty fun to watch her go for her 3rd championship in that event. I'll be here all morning long the next 2 days watching Dakota, and I'm really excited to see those decathletes from Georgia as well, and just all the multi-eventers from Georgia as well. I think that they're going to put on a pretty good show.
And Ryan Krauser, how far past 70 can he go? Can he get the college record? I'm real interested to see that.
Well, and I think the great thing about the fans of Hayward Field is they're as interested in some of those marquee events, mainly those on the track, as well as the other events. The couple that I've been looking forward to. I think the men's discus is really going to be solid. We've got Julius Ruck, who has won a couple of times. The champion from a year ago is here as well. And women's javelin, it seems like a very strong field. I think the top 5 women are all within 4 feet. And the beauty of a meet here, and having announced enough of these, I know this because I get complaints all the time when it doesn't happen, is it's like being a ringmaster at a circus, because they want to know when that 4th place person's coming up for their final throw in the javelin. And we've seen time and time again that when we set the stage for a great performance and the fans are focused in on that, kind of the magic happens. And this is one of those great venues. I assume you guys are totally bought into the idea of this being here for the next 8 years. Travel per diem notwithstanding, you don't get as much, but
I see pluses and minuses for it. I mean, I think it gets a show here like it doesn't many other places. People come and they care, and they, as you said, that they're not just pulling for Oregon; they're pulling for good performances, and I think the athletes like that. But I also think there's some value just for the sport of track and field for it to be more than just one place. I think for the sport to be viable, it's got to be successful in more than just Eugene. We know it's going to go well in Eugene. I'm hopeful that Sacramento can be very successful with the U.S. Championships this summer, because I think there needs to be another venue. And for a while it looked like that would be Des Moines, but I think Des Moines sort of backed out of it now. So it's got to be somewhere, and I think somewhere besides just Eugene.
And Paul, back to your previous point, I think you see that with the shot put in the Prefontaine. You get a certain event and you start putting some emphasis on it while it's happening, and fans can really look forward to it.
What I'm curious about is when this event, this championship's really going to help dictate the race in the Bowerman Award that's going to be passed out, and just your thoughts on who you think is going to be claiming that for the men and the women, and then who really needs to help their case with this final meet of the year.
I think Edward Cheswick for Oregon could probably seal it if he has a couple wins this weekend. On the women's side, I'm not too sure. I mean, Phyllis Francis from Oregon too. If she wins that 400, if she does well again in the 4x4 relay at the end, and gets Oregon a team win, I think she would kind of put herself up at the top of that list as well.
And conversely with the men, Lowy Lang, if he wins that 5,000, and if he wins the 1,500, if he completes a successful double, it would be hard to overlook him, the great Arizona distance runner. And Abby D'Agostino, we've talked about her, but her record of achievement is really strong, and if she wins here, she's certainly going to put herself in position, I think.
Yeah, she's had a great career.
And favorite athlete to interview? We've interviewed a lot of great athletes in these last couple of days, but who do you always look forward to getting a chance to talk to after a race?
Well, the one I'm going to miss is English Gardner. She was she was a reporter's dream. She always had something to say that was interesting, topical, and it spoke well and it read well, which those things aren't always the same, but. I don't know if anybody's stepped up to that level.
Yeah, I agree. Nobody stepped up to that level. I've always found Parker Stinson to be a good interview. He's always been able to break down his race and also give you, a good, solid soundbite here and there as well. So
Excellent. Well, Ken, Chris, thank you very much for joining us. You're going to have plenty of work ahead of you, and hopefully there's enough drama that you won't be short.
Not
for
between
words
the
at
two
all.
of you, of course. No, yeah.
Never between them. So, well, that's going to do it for all of us here at TrackTown Live. Big thank you for tuning in. Don't forget, 2014 NCAA Outdoor Championships start tomorrow at 11:30 with the decathlon. Coverage begins on ESPN3. It'll follow out all through Saturday, finishing up on ESPNU the final 2 days. For myself and Paul Swangard, thank you so much for joining us, and don't forget, we've got 4 straight days of excellent track and field coverage. Also, thank you to the many people that helped put this on this year, and we hope that you enjoyed it. Make sure you tune in to ESPN for all of your coverage of the 2014 NCAA Championships.